So we also talked about the management, the upper management. They know what they have to do, and the employees know as well. But the middle management is kind of like a wall. They're stressed out and they don't know what to do. So the measures that actually have to be developed don't exist. So the communication needs to be improved to the middle management, and also the tasks they need to carry out. So the cluster of communication was a very important part of our breakout session. We need communication, and you worked on that a lot. Günther, Lichtblau, was there another point? The second point, yes, was, which is also important, is the legal framework. We talked about omnibus, to have a good policy, which really for the market is not working well. So what we need is a legal framework and legal regulations, laws. And we talked about the climate law, a climate law that is settled for a long term, not just one political mandate, one period, but for a longer time, and all stakeholders are part of it. And what we also talked about were the subsidies, which is connected to the legal framework. And of course, companies make their decision based on subsidies as well. So for them, this is very important. All kinds of criteria in terms of climate and environment, are they part of the legal framework, and can we get subsidies in this connection? The Ministry of Finance has announced that they will start a process in this topic. So on the one hand, the communication. So there's a strong leverage in this. Was there anything concrete for the next few steps? We already heard some things from Mr. Lichtblau, but what else was there? We didn't have enough time to go into detail. We would have liked to, but a lot of our group volunteered for possible working groups and initiatives after this conference, and we would love for that to happen. On climate financing is one of the solutions. So we already have individuals who really want to commit themselves to these topics, and in these working groups, possible working groups. And one important point we can't present today is the digitalization and data management, but we couldn't go into detail in this point, and it's also very important. We didn't have enough time. It's nice to hear that there are people who actually want to act. So thank you so much. This is your applause.
Und ich darf zu mir bitten, Sophie.
And now we have Sophie Praniess and Alexander Feldmann with the breakout session Biodiversity. No? Biodiversity. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Susanne Blank and Juliet Blum. No, I'm sorry. I made another mistake. Paul Simon Glade and Juliet Blum, who led the breakout session Biodiversity. I'll give you the floor. What were your highlights? We had a very interesting discussion. We had many points. We deeply discussed, but we have two points that are the most important, which was data and mainstreaming. I would like to talk about data first. What were our results it was about the translation of data. We have a lot of biodiversity data, and they are more or less available, but it needs to be possible to look at this data and translate it and use it for critical financial decisions, which is still a big challenge. And it also seems to be a challenge where to get which data and how to find out which data is relevant for me. And Natalie just talked about it, is that data is spread out in different types of files in different institutions, and we need a more gathered, collected data. We need to work together, collaborate more in order to make this data available to everybody. We also talked about, in terms of data, that nature should be quantified. We talked about it, yes, but maybe not monitorize it, put a value to it. Paul, Simon, would you like to add anything? Yes, maybe the second topic we talked about, the mainstreaming. Just briefly, when it comes to quantification in terms of data, as a solution, it was mentioned that we could use tools for risk assessment. We talked about that as well. And we would need to look at how to carry out the risk assessment with this data without questioning the value of nature. So yes, put a monetary value to damages, but not only to a certain extent. And then we had a second important topic, which was mainstreaming, which is closely linked to data. It kind of goes hand in hand. So we talked about it in general, that it needs to be considered in all sectors, and that the usage of data, that everybody knows what they have to do. So when we look at use cases, that you're confident with the topic and know what you're talking about and how to use the data. Thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to add, or are you happy? One more point. And something important when we're talking about visibility and sensibilization, it seems that people don't understand how important biodiversity and also the planetary boundaries, most people don't know about that. And what we need is to guarantee the basis of our existence, of our lives. And here we need to generate more knowledge and awareness. Very interesting. Thank you so much.
Stellvertretend an Juliet, Blum und Paul.
Thank you very much again to Juliet, Blum and Paul Simon Glade. I will try again with Sophie, Praniess and the group International Finance. I'll hand over the microphone and you can tell us more about this. We haven't wrapped up, we didn't have time. We talked about data, omnibus and insecurities. Maybe I'll start with insecurities and omnibus. We talked about the very active political context in green finance. We have seen a rise in initiatives over the last couple of years that is now decreasing a little bit. The most important point was that we all wait for a gremium. That's the most important point that we have here, the most important takeaway. A brown pricing factor, a penalty for brown products. And then we also talked about CO2 prices. And I'll hand over to Alexander. CO2 pricing. We talked about international green finance and not only about the European Union. So we talked to representatives of the European Development Bank. So we talked about countries beyond the European Union and the CO2 pricing internationally. But then our colleagues of the Development Bank said that this topic is approached in a very different way in different jurisdictions and countries around the world. However, there is a huge demand in different developing countries. We have already established beautiful projects, and especially in blended finance, in the renewable sector. There are a lot of possibilities, and we also talked about coalition of the willing. There are other jurisdictions who do not represent that yet, who don't have a CO2 price or tax, and it's something that needs to be done. So one of the terms was the Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition. Not a lot are participating in this, so this is a little bit of an advertisement for this new concept. Another point I'd like to add, the blended finance instruments are now part of the market of green finance, where green finance is not that in demand at the moment. This would be a topic that would work there. Also public-private partnerships on a national as well as on an EU and international level. We talked to the Development Bank and also to colleagues from the finance sector. So the risk is buffered by the public sector, and this is something that we will take on and that we will continue to work on. So thank you very much for your participation, and thank you for your active participation, because I couldn't say thank you before because we didn't have time. So thank you, Sophie and Alexander. I just would like to appreciate these results. This is a conference that brings forward high quality results. In my profession, I see these kind of settings and conferences a lot, but very few of them have concrete solutions and takeaways. So on a personal level, as a citizen, I'd like to say thank you, and I'd like to represent the normal citizens out there with this thank you from my end. So, talking about this, I have been told that this is a green event. In the community, probably you know what that is, and it's clear to you. If you have ever done a green event certification, you know what it is. It is a very high standard on the quality of an event. And I just wanted to mention this because it's quite an important certification. I would like to ask two guest speakers on stage, Birgit Niessner, of course, and Günther Lichtblau. I don't know if you want to be on stage together or one after the other. You can decide how you want to do this. You negotiate. Let's see what happens. Together. Birgit Niessner and Günther Lichtblau. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Kirschbaumer. Thank you to everybody who's still here. I would like to add the National Bank is always at its best if it's filled with people who are usually not present here. You're a great audience. You're so much more than an audience. You were active and passive, of course. So you took away one part from my speech. You have this kind of drive that makes this conference unique, and the people who work in the environment sector share their knowledge with us, and they're purpose-driven. Your work has a purpose, and that's what you convey. This is extremely inspiring for us. So I hope the spirit continues, that it translates into the points that you have identified. I learned a lot, and I can see the others have learned too. From the governor, grain hashing is something that I hadn't known before, so that was really great. And lastly, is Andrei Gurin still here? I'd like to finalize the conference with Romanian. I wish you all a good trip home, Drumbum, a beautiful path, so I hope you have a good path back home to your home countries or to Vienna. Thank you for active participation. I was told that I have the last word. This is what I want to use for saying thank you. Thank you for the cooperation, for being able to be here. I'm looking at you. Thank you for the collaboration across sectors. That is what brings us forward. That's what we mean when we speak about communications. We need to exchange our mindsets. We need to exchange our opinions and perspectives for getting into this positive future. Thank you to the technicians. It's really an event that works seamlessly. Thank you. And a special thank you for the organization. Natalie, Glas, Nina Maya, thank you for organizing this event and this conference. Thank you for the great program, exceptional speakers, and 2 outstanding days. And Bettina Kirschbaumer for the moderation. Thank you very much. This really is very helpful. This helps to keep on moving during 2 very tough days. So get back home safely, and I hope to see you again next time. Thank you very much.